Started. My name is Toby Plewak. I'm from Publishing Technology. I'm a client strategist at Publishing Technology, which means that I make sure that our clients are getting the most out of our pub-to-web platform, and I make sure that our pub-to-web platform is evolving to meet their changing needs. Today we're going to be talking about responsive design, and we have some great people on the panel here today. My colleague Mark Artizone, also from Publishing Technology, is going to be talking about the design of responsive websites and how our conversations that we have going through the design process changes a little bit when we go to a responsive model. Then Gene Kaplansky from Aptara is going to be talking about more of the brass tacks, the technical implementation, and some of the challenges there, and some of the good stuff too. And then we're going to get a great case study from Ann-Jeanette Bunce at JSTOR. JSTOR went responsive. When did you guys launch that project?
August.
In August. It's a great looking site. You're going to get to see some of it if you haven't already. And we'll hear all about what they learned doing that project. So I want to kick things off here talking a little bit about how we got to where we are now. I almost took these first two slides out because I don't think I need to convince anyone at this point that mobile really is thinking about. And in fact, I know a lot of you here have already been thinking about it for a long time. We've all tried mobile apps. We've experimented with mobile websites and mobile tablets. And as I was thinking about preparing for this talk, I kept thinking of these pages I started to notice a little while back as I was doing research on libraries and mobile access. And on a couple different university websites, I found these pages that are sort of like a field guide to scholarly publishing's experiments in mobile strategy. You have your apps, your native apps that you go to the iTunes store if you have an iPhone. If you have a Android device, go over here, or maybe go to this website and log in there. Lots of different options, and it got me thinking. And I don't mean to call out anybody. These are great apps. Some of them I've worked on, and some of my colleagues' work is on the screen as well. Some really great stuff, but it got me thinking about some of the things that we've learned going through all of this, and some of the problems we've encountered where maybe we're not doing enough for our audiences. And I think the first one is that it's confusing. If you're a subscriber and you have to go one place to access content when you're on the desktop, and you have to go another place when you're on mobile, and it's going to be completely different on a journal-by-journal basis, so we're creating confusion for that end user. And the other thing is that do we really want to be thinking about our customers in terms of what device they have in their pocket, right? If you make an investment in an iPhone app, well, you're making a decision to spend that money on some of your users and not others, and it's really a pretty arbitrary way to have to be thinking about our audiences. And of course, it's also really expensive having to build separate solutions for each of these different use cases. So that's what's driven a lot of publishers to sort of back away from doing apps and start thinking about mobile optimized websites. And we have, if you go to a URL, you get redirected to mobile.website. And the approach that we've been taking in the past is, well, the mobile use case is different. So let's strip things down. Mobile users are on the go. They're doing things quickly. It's a different use case. And I want to kind of challenge that idea because I really wonder if it is such a different use case. And this statistic I have up here comes from an IBM research study that they did, and they found that 85% of users expect a mobile website to be at least as good. And so there was another checkbox, but that said as good, but 85% want it to be at least as good. And that's why on these mobile websites that we've been building, the best practice dictates that you have a view full site button somewhere on the site. Now, how many people have seen one of those before? Right? And how many have sought them out and clicked them, right? I know I have. So, we're taking away from that maybe it's not so easy to make decisions about what's important when somebody's on mobile. And this isn't getting any easier. When you're doing those mobile sites, you're still targeting a certain screen size most of the time. and it's just getting harder. Right now, Apple's iOS alone has 6 different screen size and resolution combinations. Different sizes there. Obviously, a couple of different iPads are the same, but if they're different resolution, that is still a huge challenge. I know from my own experience, the first iPhone app project I worked on, the week that we released it, the iPad came out, and users were saying, "Well, where's the iPad app?" And another one, we finished something that was very image focused for iPhone, and the Retina screen comes out for iPhone and iPad, and then the Retina screens come out just as we're delivering this very image focused app. And so a lot of publishers have started to talk about the app race and how challenging it is, and this is just Apple, and they're, of all the hardware manufacturers, they're the ones with sort of the biggest incentive to control the space, because they also control the App Store. So they actually have an incentive to keep the screen sizes fairly limited. You go to a manufacturer like HTC, they have 12 different screen size resolution combinations on just Android, and they're not even the best-selling manufacturer. Samsung comes in small, medium, large, and I think you've seen those largest Samsung tablets, or phones, but they're almost as big as a Mac Mini. And really, the lines are blurring. This is the other thing. This is a Microsoft tablet which ships with a keyboard, and then we have this Asus device, which is a laptop that has a touchscreen tablet experience on the lid. So, it's starting to get confusing. What's a desktop? What's a mobile device? How are they different? I mean, there's a lot of people here holding tablets with keyboards. They're typing on them. So what is a mobile device? And is it really useful to be thinking about that? So, I'm going to put out the idea that, maybe publishers don't need a mobile strategy. We need to completely rethink our online strategy to accommodate all these different devices that are hitting our websites. So you can probably guess that what I'm going to put out there here is that responsive design has the potential to be that new strategy to help us reach all of these different devices and all the devices that are going to come out in the coming years. So what is responsive web design? Well, the idea is to maintain one website that serves all devices and screen sizes, to provide complete support for almost all website pages and features. Really all pages. It's really the features on a page-by-page basis that you make decisions about, regardless of device screen size, and implement those changes all across all the different devices out there with a fluid layout. A little background on the history. It's actually not really a new idea. Tim Berners-Lee, when he first started talking about the web, he was imagining fluid pages that would adapt to the screen size. But as we started to get more advanced with what we wanted to do with web pages, and we started to kind of think more in a print framework where we want everything to be pixel perfect. And it was also really hard to make truly adaptive sites. Then in 2010, a guy named Ethan Marcotte wrote an article for a web development blog called A List Apart, and it's called Responsive Web Design. I really suggest you look up this article. It's good. And he sort of coined the term in there and sort of outlined a method for how we can actually do this. So again, it's not a new idea, but the new technologies that have come out that Ethan sort of told us how to use in this way. HTML5 is one. CSS3 is also really important. But the big one is media queries, and this is the way we sort of asynchronously can tell how big the screen on a device is and detect that it's a smaller screen, so the layout needs to get smaller, the images need to get smaller, the fonts need to get bigger. Media queries is really what makes that possible. But I think it's also important to point out that it's not really about specific technologies. Responsive design is sort of aspirational in a sense. We're reaching for this grail of, wouldn't it be great if we could just have one online product that served all of our subscribers in one place, and even if it's a little harder to maintain or to build in the first place, really, wouldn't that be great if we could just have one solution that would work for all of our users, including those devices that haven't come out yet? So before I hand it over to the other speakers here, I want to share a few quotes. This one comes from Jeffrey Veen, who's the Vice President of Products at Adobe. He says, "Day by day, the number of devices, platforms, and browsers that need to work with your site grows. responsive web design represents a fundamental shift in how we'll build websites for the decade to come. And a lot of the time when you're reading about responsive design, you hear a lot of people like to quote the Tao Te Ching. A guy named John Alsop wrote an article back in 2000 that sort of predated all of this, and he called a Tao of web design, and he also published that on a list apart. And that's another really good read that I suggest you check out. And he talks about how, you know, we may have brought some preconceived notions of how layout works to the web, and maybe we shouldn't be thinking about that way. Maybe we should be a little bit more fluid and a little bit more flexible. And this next quote isn't from the Tao Te Ching, but probably inspired by it, and I just couldn't bring myself to get rid of this slide. Bruce Lee said, "When you pour water in a cup, it becomes the cup, and when you pour water in a bottle, it becomes the bottle." And this is sort of the grail that we're reaching for with responsive design, is how to build a site that reflows itself for whatever device our readers, our subscribers have in their pocket at any given time. And so I think that's as good a point as any to hand it over to Mark, who's going to talk a little bit about how we go about designing something that's fluid if you don't know what the bottle looks like that the end user is going to be pouring that content into. So, Mark?